For this tutorial, we're going to learn how to take our single image pop art project and turn it into one of these pop art series projects. All right, so we're going to be looking at Andy Warhol's Marilyn Monroe and his Campbell's soup cans as inspiration. So what you're going to need to first do is go to Photo P. And once you're in Photo P, you're going to open up the image that you were just working on. This will mean it is a colored image. It's already in its final state and it's been saved. So I'm going to open up my image, and I have a few of these. So I'm going to open up one that probably looks like yours. And what that means is it's going to have all these layers over on the right-hand side. So you can see that there's all the layers we were working on with the threshold and the masks, and we colored an area. Now what we're going to do is we are going to turn this into a series or multiple pictures in one final print. So to do this, you're going to need to figure out how big your first image is, and we need to turn it into a JPEG. This is a pretty simple process. So what we want to do is we're going to go over to File, and we're going to first turn it into a JPEG. You're going to go to Export and click JPEG. It's going to ask you how big this picture is and how much quality you want in it. We're making these for web-based reasons, so we really don't need a super quality. So saving it at 70% today is fine. If we were doing an actual photograph, we would want closer to 100, but again, 70% is fine. So we're going to hit Save. All right, you can see that my image saved down here where it says New Project. And now what I'm going to do is go to the next step. And the next step is to find out how big my image is. If you happen to remember that you made an image that was 10 by 10, then great. If you don't remember, there's a quick, easy way to do that. You're going to go up to Image, and then you're going to go to Image Size. And right now it's showing me how big it is in pixels and stuff. I don't want that. I want to go to inches because that's what makes sense to me, and that's how big we made our canvas first. So I'm going to look and go, oh yeah, that's right. I did make mine 10 by 10. Perfect. So I'm going to say, okay. I need that number for the next part. The next part of this process is to go and create a new canvas. If you remember, the canvas was that big white square we first started with. So over here on my layers palette, you can see that white square. It's called background. We need to make a new background on a completely separate art piece. So we're going to go to File, New. And this is where we're going to change the name of our project. So you're going to write your last name, and then you're going to write Pop Art Series. And I'm going to name this Pop Art Series 3 because I've already been working on a few as examples. Now I'm going to change the width and the height. Remember, I want to put it in inches, so that drop down gives us inches. All right, so how big am I going to make this? Well, this is a little tricky. You're going to have to figure out how many pictures you want in your series. I'm going to stick with at least 4 for all of you, but if you want to have 5, 6, 7, 8, that's fine, but at least 4. So for today, we're going to just say, we're going to make a series that's 4 images wide. All right, so it's going to just be the picture of my daughter 4 times in a row. I know that her picture was 10 inches. So if I'm going to be making 4, I know that the math I'm going to have to do is going to be at least 4 times the width of the picture, which was 10. So if I do 4 times 10, that's 40. That's a very simple kind of beginning number. Now I've got to decide if I want to have any space between my images. That's called a border. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think I do. I think I want a little bit of space between them. So I'm going to say that I want a tiny sliver of space, maybe like 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to make my width not 40 inches. That wouldn't give me a border. I'm going to make mine 41. All right, so I have 41 inches. And then the height of it, well, I know that it's 10 inches tall, but if I'm putting a border between the 4 images as they go across the page, I'm probably going to need to make a border for the top and the bottom. And I said I was going to do about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to change my height to 10.5. And then I can say create. This should create a very long rectangle. All right, so Now I have a new canvas. Now it's like taking the picture of my daughter and I'm just going to put it on this canvas in 4 places. To do this, I have to go to File, Open and Place, and find the picture that I want to put in there. So here's that original picture. It's the JPEG, not the PSD. So it's the JPEG. All right, so I have a picture of my daughter right here, and I can move it around. Now what I want to do, though, is I want to put 4 more in there. So one of the easiest ways to do it is to go into File, Open and Place, and find the picture again. All right, so there it is. And then I can move it. And then I can go File, Open and Place, and pick it again, and move it. File, Open and Place, and pop that last one in. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, you're going to notice, oh, my spacing isn't quite right here. I don't like that. So figure out your top and the bottom here, all right, and the sides maybe, and then you're going to have to move these images, all right? So I'm going to have to figure out how to adjust these. And it can sometimes be a little bit frustrating because you're going to want to move the one next to this one, and you're like, how do I get to it? I can't get to it. You have to find where it is over on the Layers palette. So you can kind of see these are very tiny pictures, but you can see that this layer is actually the 3rd one. So I can give it a little bit more space. And then this one is like the 2nd one. I can give that a little bit more space. If you're really picky and you want it to move just a tiny bit, like just a hair amount, you're going to click the layer, and then you can tap your arrow keys. And that's going to move them a lot slower and just little increments, little tiny bits. All right, so for today, this looks good to me. All right, so I've opened a new canvas. I've opened and placed all my pictures. Now I need to flatten them so that it's one picture. Flattening them. This means I'm going to go either to my background and click flatten, or I'm going to go to layer and flatten image. What's going to happen is you're going to see over on the right-hand side here, all my layers are going to shrink up. They're going to flatten into one final piece. All right, so now they're all living on the same layer. This is going to make editing for this project way easier. Okay, so my next step, I'm going to go over here to this marquee tool. This is a selection tool. I want a rectangular select. I'm going to drag this tool across one of the images. And now what's happened is it has created, zoom in here, it has created like what we call an ant's marching line. You can kind of see there's this weird selection area. And anything that's inside of that rectangle is going to be changed, or it's going to have a filter affected. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select that first picture of my daughter. I'm going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and go to Hue Saturation. This is going to allow me to mess around with the coloring, and I get to make it look any way I want. All right, so now I'm done. I'm going to close that window. I'm going to go back to my marquee tool, and I'm going to click once so that it unhighlights that area or unselects it, and then I'm going to drag again. And now I'm working on the second picture of my daughter. I'm going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Hue Saturation, and again, I can play around with those sliders. Click, hide this, and grab the next picture. Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Hue Saturation. I can make it look any way I want. There we go. All right, if I wanted to mess around with the last one, I could. I could change my original picture completely. But now that I'm done, I have all the pictures. They look very different, but it's repetitive, which is part of pop art. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click again. I don't want to have any of those selection areas. All right, so I make sure that there's nothing selected, and I'm going to go to File, Save As, save it as a PSD, because you do have some layers over here. But then I also want to save it as an JPEG. All right, remember our quality can be at 70. Save that. So now you have 2 versions of this artwork, and now you would be done, and you can turn it in. There will also be a step-by-step set of directions as a Google presentation, so you can follow along with the video, and then you can also use the slideshow as extra support when you're really working on your art. All right, good luck.